Thank you so much, everybody, for coming today. We've really been spending the last year in a concerted effort to try to improve conditions for our brothers and sisters that are Native American who are living in Albuquerque. And if you'll remember, on July 19th, 2014, Allison Gorman and Key Thompson were murdered. And they were individuals who were living in the city of Albuquerque. They were homeless, and they were trying to survive. And they met a horrible fate. And so a couple of days after that, we sat down and we started talking about what it is that we could do as a city, working with our partners, both from the Pueblo leadership and the Navajo Nation, to try to improve conditions and try to improve outcomes. And we've done that. And it was actually a year ago today that we stood here and we announced Sherrick Roanhorse, who's actually an employee at PNM, but who has an extensive background in leadership in the Navajo Nation, as our task force chairman. And since then, we've had a number of stakeholders, some of who I will announce today, others, there's just a lot of folks here, but we'll go through some of the main individuals that have helped us. And we've made a lot of progress, and we have some announcements to make today. So after the murder of Mr. Gorman and Mr. Thompson on July 24th, I had my first meeting with President Ben Shelley of the Navajo Nation. The current president, Russell Begay, started his term on May 12th of 2015, and I know they are really working hard on the Animas river spill, and so he was not able to be here today. But we want to send our thank you to the president and his leadership team as well, because that will be an integral part as we move forward. So as I said, on August 8th of 2014, we assembled a team to travel to Window Rock, Arizona to meet with President Shelley and other tribal leaders. In that meeting, we discussed a number of issues, and we took a close look at a needs assessment report that I'd actually done my second year in office in 2011. We had put together a needs assessment regarding resources available to the Native American community. At that time, we wanted to make sure that the city resources that were going into services for the Native American community were being provided at the highest and best level. And we had made some changes at that point in time, and I think those changes actually were for the positive. So in collaboration with PNM, Navajo Nation, and other tribal leaders, we created the Native American Homelessness Task Force. Exactly 1 year ago, as I said, we had a press conference and we named Sherrick as the chair of that. This appointment was due to Sherrick's extensive knowledge of Native American affairs as a former chief of staff for Ben Shelley at the Navajo Nation. He had done work as a policy analyst for New Mexico Indian Affairs Department and was a government and legislative affairs specialist with the Navajo Nation in Washington, D.C. So Sherrick was generously provided to us by our community partner, PNM. So he's an employee of PNM. And we talked to the leadership, including Aubrey's here with us today, but we talked to Pat Vincent Kalan and others, and we asked if we could have Sherrick on loan for an extensive period of time as he does his other duties at PNM. And so we wanted to thank PNM for being a great community partner and allowing us to really tie into Sherrick's expertise. So we had a 17-member task force, and we hosted several community dialogues and a number of meetings over the last year to compile 14 key recommendations. So we're going to send you today as the media with 14 of these key recommendations. Some of these are short-term that we can do right now, some are medium-term, and some are long-term. Today we're going to announce several of these, but just know that there are 14 that we'll be working on moving forward. And we're actually very excited about this. We think that some of these will allow us to really impact in a positive way the lives of Native Americans that live in Albuquerque and the metro area. Sure. One of the first recommendations we heard and implemented was to appoint a tribal liaison for the city of Albuquerque to coordinate with tribal leadership and tribal programs. I'm very, very pleased to announce today that we've selected Dawn Begay, who's right here with me, as our community liaison with the mayor's office. She will be on contract. She is currently a community health worker from First Nations Community Health Source, so her day-to-day duties there will tie in incredibly well with the work that we're going to be doing through the task force recommendations. Dawn has led a homelessness outreach case management for First Nations Community Health Source, and we're lucky to have her. She's also part of our Heading Home team, and most of you know about Albuquerque Heading Home. We've now housed over 450 of our most chronically homeless, our most medically vulnerable in the city of Albuquerque, and including Native Americans. So we appreciate your passion, and we're looking forward to having your leadership working with the mayor's office. The task force was also has also asked the City of Albuquerque to implement what we call cultural competency training for individuals who regularly interact with homeless Native Americans in the City of Albuquerque. So these will be, I think there's about 175 individuals who are city employees that will receive this training. These will be folks like our CIT teams and our crisis intervention teams and our first responders, but they'll also be folks that work inside of our family and communities department, people who are working with the urban Native American population to actually make sure that they get those ties to those services. So that training will be vitally important. And it was curriculum that was created by UNM Health Sciences Center for Native American Health and the Institute for Indigenous Knowledge and Development. And I know that we have Nathania Sosi with us today, who is actually a big part of that. So I want to thank UNM for the training that they're going to be putting together. In addition, the City of Albuquerque is allocating $300,000 to the First Nations Community Health Source to help them implement their wellness center. So there's a building where some great things are happening, and but the building needs some repairs. The building needs some upgrades so that we can provide the services at the level that we want to. So there will be a $300,000 going from the city that will help provide the Native American community with food, with job training, and with health care. And we know that the Native American community in Albuquerque adds to the rich diversity of our city, and we just value the Native American community here in Albuquerque, and so we want to honor that. And I think with some of the recommendations that we have today, we're going to be doing that. This was difficult work. This was a lot of time spent by the task force members, and I want to thank each and every one of them. I'm going to name some folks here in just a minute, but I think Albuquerque now is in a position, unfortunately through tragedy, but now we're in a position to really be a national leader. And as I travel around and I talk to mayors around the country, which I do on a fairly regular basis, we're going to be able to talk about what's happening in the City of Albuquerque, about these 14 recommendations, and about some of the positive impacts that we think that we're going to have. But as importantly, I think we're going to talk about the fact that we were able to sit down with our corporate partners, with our leadership from the Navajo Nation, with our leadership from the University of New Mexico, our leadership from the Pueblos that surround Albuquerque, and we've actually crafted solutions. And so much of what we do in government, we talk about making things better, but you have to be able to sit down at the table and you have to be able to work together. And so I'm just very, very proud. Once again, thanks to Pat Vincent Kalan, Aubrey Johnson, VP of Operations. Thank you so much, Sherrick. We can't thank you enough. Sherrick's going to speak in a minute. But with us today in the room, we've got Gabe Campos, who's our Human Rights Office Director. Thank you so much. Annabelle Romero's here. We had a lot of folks from APD working on this. Major Anthony Montano, Commander Paul Hansen, Gabriel Claw. Doug Chaplin is here today from Family and Community Services. Thank you so much. Michael Robertson, who's really an unsung, Michael's in the back here. Michael is really an unsung hero when it comes to mental health. We had a long meeting yesterday on mental health issues, working with the County Commission and others, and Michael really is outstanding, so thank you. And Alan Armijo, our Constituent Services Director, Karen Wakanda Lewis from the Pueblo of Laguna, Roxanne Bly from Bernalillo Off-Reservation Native American Health Commission, Teresa Galvin from the Navajo Nation Division of Health, representatives from the Navajo Nation Division of Social Services, Lieutenant Dempsey Harvey from the Navajo National Division of Public Safety, Rosalind Shirley, Navajo Nation Workforce Development Program, Lauren Bernali from the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission, thank you so much, representatives from the Navajo Nation Office of the President and the Vice President, Teresa Ortiz, Pueblo of Zia Social Services, representatives from all the Pueblo Councils of Governors. I mean, this was a very robust effort. And then, of course, the UNM Health Sciences Center for Native American Health, the Institute for Indigenous Knowledge and Development, Tassie Parker, Nathania Sosi, and, of course, Delaney Woodward from my office. Thank you, Delaney, and everybody here, and all the representatives from the city. So we think we're on the right track. We believe that we've got a robust effort underway. We're just getting started. We took the time to be thoughtful about what we're doing, and we've got some significant resources behind it. And like I said earlier, we have a team that's in place now that can really take this and move forward. With that, I have several speakers today. I'm going to bring up first Aubrey Johnson, who is with PNM, and he's going to talk about their work here, and we're just very, very thankful. So with that, Aubrey, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it.
Good morning. Homelessness is an issue that touches us all. The establishment of this task force is an opportunity to shine a light on a segment of the city's population that is often overlooked. When examining homelessness, we must first take notice and look at the issue from many different lenses. We must evaluate support structures, education, and the steps we're taking to create a vibrant economy so that residents are able to attain good jobs. On a more personal level, we must look at the homelessness from a holistic point of view. This means evaluating how we address mental health and the steps we're taking to improve the quality of life for people with various levels of functionality. On behalf of my president and CEO, Pat Vincent-Calan, and my fellow PNM employees, I want to thank Mayor Berry and the City of Albuquerque, our tribal partners and community leaders for understanding the challenges that homeless people face and taking a stance on this critical issue in our community. As the state's largest electric provider, PNM is committed to being a citizen wherever we serve. We welcome the opportunity to support initiatives and programs that assist in enriching the quality of life for all residents in our state. We are acutely aware of how economic conditions impact the people in the communities we serve. We strongly believe that as a good corporate citizen, we have the responsibility to actively support economic development and important community initiatives such as this. Last year, our company contributed more than $2.7 million to nonprofits and community partners through community giving and the PNM Resources Foundation. No other electric utility in the nation has as many tribes, nations, and pueblos touching its business operations. Today, we provide service to over 14 tribes in New Mexico. Our partnership with tribes in our state is guided by the principle of mutual respect and collaboration. Through input and guidance from our tribal partners, we have worked together and made a difference in the lives of Native people. One example of PNM's efforts is the Four Corners areas and the work that we're doing to help minimize the economic impact of shutting down 2 units at San Juan Generating Station. Working directly with the Navajo Nation leadership and community stakeholders, PNM is investing $1 million over 5 years in the PNM Navajo Nation Workforce Training Initiative, in partnership with the Navajo Technical University and San Juan College. This program is in its 3rd year, and I'm proud to say that so far we've provided funding for over 208 Navajo students, of which 37 have already graduated. This collaboration is an example of how we strive to enrich the lives of citizens within our state, especially Native American communities. PNM is about supporting our communities and doing what we can to ensure our communities and state thrive, both now and in the future. Our core mandate is to deliver safe, reliable, affordable, and environmentally responsible electricity. We strive to accomplish this in ways that meet the needs of our customers while earning their trust and developing strong relationships. I'd like to thank Mayor Berry for the opportunity to allow PNM to be a part of this important initiative. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. And thanks for your partnership, and thanks for Sherrick Roanhorse, who's going to be our next speaker. The fact that PNM would loan us Sherrick and his expertise on your dollar means a lot to us. It means a lot to the community. With that, Sherrick, would you come up and share some thoughts with us, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to acknowledge Mayor Berry as well as the City of Albuquerque, as well as my boss, Pat Vincent-Calan. Exactly 1 year ago, Mayor Berry created the Native American Homeless Task Force to help address homelessness among American Indians and Alaska Natives living within Albuquerque. Over the course of the year, we called upon tribes to help us address this situation, a very difficult situation that affects us all. Developing solutions to this long-term issue required commitment, vision, and collaboration. We worked very hard as about a 20-member task force. We collaborated with community partners. We worked with different tribes, and we did our best to reach out to those who are impacted directly, the homeless population. We developed strong partnerships with several tribes within New Mexico, including the Navajo Nation, the Pueblo of Zia, the Pueblo of Laguna, as well as all Pueblos, working with the All Pueblo Council of Governors. So we've had strong buy-in from tribal leadership, and we were always guided by the vision that was put forth by our tribal leaders. And I also want to just acknowledge one tribal leader we have in the House here is former Governor Norman Cuyate, who is a former governor of Zuni. As I also want to acknowledge our director here for the National Indian Youth Council, who is also a partner with the task force, but with also the mayor's office in trying to take on this important issue. Again, we tried to attain real feedback from the community. We met over the course of the year. We nailed out several of our recommendations to this long-term issue, and we did our best. And I feel that I'm proud of what we've done, and our whole goal is to create a foundation so that we can move forward. And what I mean by that is the designation of a tribal liaison. That's an important component to this whole effort. It was asked by the tribes. The El Pueblo Council of Governors passed a resolution asking for the designation of a tribal liaison. The Navajo Nation leadership also asked for a designation of a tribal liaison. So this is something that we're very proud of. We're also very proud of our cultural competency training, also known as our cultural humility training. And we feel that this is one way to impact, it's a way for us to address this situation. The only way that we can change I feel we can change the minds of those who work directly with the homeless population, the Native American homeless population, is if we give them the tools to try to understand our Native American population. Often some of our tribal members don't have trust for the system. So we feel that through training, we felt that we could try to address that. With that, I just want to thank the city. I'm very proud of the work that we've done, and I'm very happy that we have a new liaison, with Ms. Dawn Begay. I want to congratulate Dawn Begay. Dawn Begay has been an incredible partner in this effort. She helped us on New Year's Eve when we had a conversation with about 30 Native American homeless individuals, and she was key in that. And I also got a chance to ride with Dawn and her team. We spent a few mornings at 6 a.m. On the streets, and we tried to. I learned a lot from Dawn, and my hat's off to Dawn, and in this effort. Thank you.
Don, would you share a few thoughts with us, please? Thanks.
Yeah. I'm gonna read this. So good morning. I'd like to thank the City of Albuquerque for providing me the opportunity to be here today, and I am honored to have been designated as the city's tribal liaison. And so I just want to give a background. I was born here in Albuquerque, but I grew up on the Navajo reservation. And I was really brought up with the traditional Navajo cultural beliefs of in kinship, valuing and respecting ourselves, our family, our community, and our environment, and those around us. And so I constantly ask myself, what can I do for my community? What can I do for my people? And for several years, I have served as a community health worker, and I've been addressing health inequities and attempting to improve overall health outcomes of Bernalillo County's most at-risk residents, including Native Americans. And for the past year, I have been the lead case manager for First Nations Community Health Source Homeless Outreach Program. And every day, I have the opportunity to talk to individuals and families experiencing homelessness. I get to hear their struggles, their stories, and also their accomplishments. And one thing I've really learned is that homelessness is a manifestation of extreme poverty. And I've also learned that Native Americans experience not only disproportionate rates of poverty, but also of violence and behavioral health disorders. And so as a tribal liaison, I would consider it my responsibility to create an awareness to local government and tribal entities of exactly a true picture of what is happening to our Native American people experiencing homelessness or at risk of experiencing homelessness. And so I would also like to implement and continue on the work that has already been done by the task force, create a center where it's easily accessible to all Native American people, whether or not they're experiencing homelessness, and most importantly, creating and building that, reaching out to tribes, and also the city, and we have the opportunity to create an ideal relationship. What does that look like? And I would like to be that person to continue those discussions and solidify that relationship so that it lasts a long time, and it goes back to helping our community, our family, our people, because we are all here, and I believe that that is in line with what I do, where I come from, and really in line with what a lot of our tribal communities strive for, is just the health and well-being of our people. And it is all our responsibility to come together and create a vision and implement that for the sake of our people. And so that would be one of the tasks I would charge with, is just being a part of that initiative. So thank you, and we'll go ahead and...
Don, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you tell why Don is going to be our liaison? That's just amazing. You know, we're so thankful. And let me just end on this, and then we'll take some questions. You know, I'm just humbled that you would allow me as a mayor to be part of this important discussion. Some of the great lessons I've learned as mayor have come from our dialogue with people in our community who need a hand. I've learned so much from the homeless population here. I'm going to learn more through this process that we have with the Native American Task Force. So thank you for letting me be a small part of this. And you know, as a mayor, I'm interested in the cultural competency training. I'd like to take some myself, actually. So I'm going to ask my staff to see if I can be a part of this. As these 175 employees, maybe let the mayor sit in a little bit and talk about this and teach me and help me learn and understand, so that we can do what we do, which is to take resources from our community and give them back to the community in a way that's meaningful. So I'm just so thankful. Sherrick, thank you for your leadership. I appreciate it so much, and we look so much forward to working with you and all the tribal leadership, all the Pueblo governors, the leadership from the Navajo Nation. You've taught me a lot, and we're going to continue down a path that I think is going to improve lives in our community. Because if you look at, you know, why New Mexico and why Albuquerque are beautiful, it's our diversity, and that diversity comes with blessings and it comes with challenges. So I think we have a real chance now to be to show some leadership and take that diversity and put it to work for all of us. So thanks again, Sherrick. I'd like to, I know you weren't expecting this, but I just wanted to give you a small token of our appreciation. It says, in recognition for your service as chairman of the Albuquerque Native American Homelessness Task Force, thank you for your passion and for the commitment to this important work, Mayor Richard Berry. So I'm eternally grateful, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With that, we will take questions if we have any. Yes.
I recognize, of course, that the Native American homeless population has certain cultural considerations that are unique unto them, but overall, I think apparently the problems of Native American homelessness are the problems of the homelessness in general. And so I'm wondering what this task force is going to do to get Native American homeless people off the street.
Let me start, and then I'll let the experts talk. But let me tell you what my understanding is. We've done a wonderful job in Albuquerque, and we're actually a national leader in working with the chronically homeless through Albuquerque Heading Home. We have another city, I think. What's the next city coming in? Orange County. So we've already had Anaheim, Lexington, Kentucky. Now Orange County, California are going to come in here and learn how we did that. We actually have developed a model that works. But when we're working with our friends and our neighbors in the Native American population, some of these cultural barriers, and this is one of the things that I have learned, connecting people with services is so much of this equation. And if we can do a better job as a city and a better job as a community, taking into consideration some of these cultural sensitivities and helping the Native American population connect, that's what's different here. Now, Sherrick, would you correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe add to that from an expert standpoint, or Don, or anyone?
Basically, you know, with our task force, we develop recommendations that on the short term and long term. And it's a long-standing issue, and it's not going to go away overnight. However, we feel that by designating the tribal liaison, by providing tools to our city workers and nonprofit partners to know more about Native American tribes within New Mexico, we feel that this is the way to move forward. What we're doing is we're creating the foundation to move forward. Again, this issue is not going to go away overnight, but by educating our workforce and by providing them with the tools that they need, I think that we can make headway in this effort.
And if we have a world-class program and we can't get someone from the Native American population to participate or get them into the program because of this cultural barrier, then we're failing. And so hopefully this will help. Yes, Navajo Times.
One of the services that some of the homeless population is interested in is a shelter. Is a shelter something that you're developing, and what's the timeline of an actual shelter being opened?
You want to speak to that, or do you want me to?
Again, it's a long-term issue, and one of our recommendations is to look at this from a holistic point of view, and obviously your question's an important one. And we feel that by educating city workers as well as our nonprofit partners, including some of those homeless organizations, we feel that we can educate them. They might not know that they might be doing something that's not very culturally competent, and a lot of times individuals don't know much about about tribes or Native American people in general, and we feel that we can break that barrier and we can arm them with the knowledge that they need.
And we know, maybe to also answer that, we know that through Albuquerque Heading Home, we've been able to have a very positive impact on a number of populations, and one of which is the Native American population here. I understand your question, and that is there have been some that have brought forward this idea of having a separate shelter for Native Americans. As the task force continues their work, that is something we are looking at, and that is on our list of things to consider. What we want to make sure that we're doing is that we're taking account of the existing resources that we have, and if we can break down some of the cultural barriers and help people get into housing that otherwise they wouldn't, I think that's the first thing to do. And then as we make sure we're maximizing those opportunities through the cultural training, then I'm going to guess there will still be individuals in our community that feel like it still doesn't work, and then that will be the next potential step that the City of Albuquerque and our partners could take. There's some partnerships that could happen between the city. There's resources. When you talk about federal resources, state resources, local resources, tribal resources that go. One of the things that we'll be talking about is if we get to that point where that seems to be, we're to that point where we need to do that at that point, what I think the natural discussion would be is what resources could everybody bring to the table to make that happen. So it's definitely on our discussion list. It's definitely something we're thinking about. Does that help answer?
Is the Navajo Nation helping with urban resources here for that effort?
At this point, well, let me just say this. The Navajo Nation has been a great partner in this. I've learned a lot from my very first meetings with President Shelley and now our follow-up meetings with the leadership, the tribal leadership. It's been outstanding. They've come to the table, and they've taught us a lot, and they've actually helped coach us into a situation where we have a better understanding and where we're crafting this. So there's been it's been a wonderful partnership to this point. One of the next logical opportunities then is to talk about resourcing. Let's do a gap analysis. Let's find out where resources are going from the tribal entities. Let's see if they overlap with city or state resources. If there's a redundancy, this is what we did for homelessness in Albuquerque. If there's redundancy, let's remove the redundancy and then use those resources to fill a gap. So I think there's lots of opportunity there, and I think the good news is we have such a great partnership that we'll be able to find ways to do that.
And through this effort, we've strengthened our partnership with the Navajo Nation and other Pueblos and tribes within New Mexico. Just speaking specifically to the Navajo Nation, the Navajo Nation has provided resources to the task force, but they've also increased their outreach to the urban population within Albuquerque. One example is the Navajo Division of Social Services has enhanced its partnership with the City of Albuquerque. There's been efforts within the past year where the Navajo Nation has increased its outreach to this area.
And so those are tribal resources. I mean, the short answer to your question, I guess, is yes, there has been an improvement.
What about financial resources?
FTE resources.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
what Sherrick's speaking of are financial resources, yeah, because they pay salaries to help to have folks do the work.
Okay, thanks.
And the Navajo Nation has contributed to the several Albuquerque organizations, and I think that they're going to continue to do that.
Yeah. So, but I think there's still a lot of upside opportunity here.
Okay.
Listen, thanks to everybody for coming. Thanks to all the task force members. A lot of hard work left to do. We have our sleeves rolled up and we're working, and I think we'll be able to report over time that we've made some significant improvements. So thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Sherrick.
Mayor.